I slept with my ex-husband's best man during our wedding reception. That part's true. What everyone gets wrong is why. They think I'm just another bored bride looking for a final fling that I couldn't keep my legs closed for one damn night. But the real truth, the thing that makes me sick to my stomach even now, is that I did it to save my family's company and it still wasn't enough. My reputation is ash. My parents won't answer my calls. The business my grandfather built from nothing is teetering on bankruptcy because Marcus emptied accounts I didn't even know existed. And the kicker? He got away with it clean, playing the wounded husband while I became the town's cautionary tale. But here's what nobody knows, not even my lawyer. I have proof locked away that would change everything. And I'm finally ready to show you why a wedding venue closet seemed like my only way out. The morning of my wedding, I threw up 3 times before my makeup artist arrived. Not from nerves, but from the encrypted file Daniel had slipped me the night before. It showed wire transfers, 50,000 here, 20 there, all routing from my father's construction firm to a shell corporation in the Caymans. Marcus's signature was on every single one. I'd been checking his work email for weeks, telling myself I was being paranoid. My father's health was failing, and Marcus had stepped in as CFO with such confidence, such charm. The board loved him, I loved him, at least I thought I did. My sister Jenna zipped my dress, chattering about centerpieces. "You look perfect," she whispered, adjusting the veil. I saw my reflection, this masterpiece of satin and delusion, and couldn't breathe. The pie I'd hired had called yesterday. Marcus wasn't just embezzling, he was planning to disappear after our honeymoon. The surprise tickets he'd booked? One way. The timing wasn't random either. Dad's surgery was scheduled for 2 weeks post-wedding, during which Marcus would have full power of attorney. I should have called it off. Should have walked downstairs and handed the file to my father. Instead, I smiled for photos. That was my first crime, choosing convenient silence over messy truth. By the cocktail hour, I'd downed 3 champagne flutes. Marcus's hand rested possessively on my lower back as he worked the room, collecting envelopes. Our gift table overflowed with cream-colored cards, cash, checks, the kind of liquidity that would be easy to move. I watched him slide a thick envelope into his jacket pocket instead of the locked box we'd rented. My stomach dropped. Daniel caught my eye from across the room, concern etched on his face. Been my college boyfriend, my father's godson, and the only person I'd confided in about the investigation. "You okay?" he mouthed. I nodded, a lie so practiced it felt natural. Marcus squeezed my waist. "Stop worrying about the gifts, babe, I got it handled." His voice was honey over razor blades. I should have confronted him then, should have screamed. But I thought about my father's hospital room, the monitors beeping, how he'd whispered, "Take care of her, Marcus," during their last handshake. The weight of his expectations pressed against my ribs. So I let Marcus steer me toward another group of family friends, their congratulations like nails on chalkboard. Daniel found me near the bathroom 20 minutes later. "We need to talk." The pie found the account numbers. "Marcus is planning to clean you out completely." My hands shook. "I can't prove it fast enough. Dad's too sick for this." "Then don't marry him." Daniel's voice was urgent, low. "Call it off, right now." But I saw my mother laughing with Marcus's mom, their friendship cemented over months of wedding planning. I saw the deposit checks for the venue, the catering, the flowers, all non-refundable. I saw myself as the woman who cried wolf at the altar, destroying her father's health for suspicion. So I did what cowards do. I deflected. "It's just wedding jitters," I said, and the words tasted like ash. "I'll handle it after the honeymoon." Daniel's face fell. He knew I was lying. He could always tell. The music shifted to our first dance song. Marcus appeared, hand extended, grinning like he'd already won. I took it, feeling every eye in the room on us. We swayed, and he whispered, "You're mine now, legally, forever." Something in his tone made my blood freeze. This wasn't love, this was acquisition. I made it through dinner by counting breaths, speeches blurred into noise. Marcus's best man toast was a masterpiece of performance, our perfect partnership, his blessing to join our families. Daniel's jaw was so tight I thought his teeth might crack. When the cake cutting came, I smiled for photos, smearing frosting on Marcus's cheek like the dutiful bride. He licked it off my finger, a gesture that made the photographer coo but made me want to vomit. Then came the dollar dance. Stupid tradition my mother insisted on, guests pay for a minute with the bride or groom, money for the honeymoon. Marcus's cousins lined up, stuffing cash into my garter. I felt like a commodity being appraised. Through the crowd, I saw Marcus slip another envelope into his suit. This time I recognized the handwriting, my father's accountant. My phone buzzed in my hidden pocket. A text from Daniel, "He's moving money now. The account is almost empty." The room spun. The pie had warned me Marcus had been waiting for this moment, when cash flowed freely and no one would notice transfers. The wedding gifts alone would be 50, maybe 60,000. Combined with the final sweep of the company accounts, he'd have enough to vanish. I stumbled off the dance floor, claiming dizziness. In the bathroom, I splashed water on my face and stared at my reflection. The woman looking back was trapped. Divorce would take months, give Marcus time to finish draining everything. Annulment required proof of fraud or incapacity to consent or adultery. I remember Daniel's voice, "Don't marry him," but I already had. The certificate was signed. It was recorded. My phone buzzed again. "Daniel, meet me in the coat check. We can still stop this." I should have blocked his number, should have walked back to the reception and danced with my grandfather. Instead, I looked at my wedding band, still new enough to feel foreign, and made a choice that would cost me everything. The walk to the coat check felt like moving underwater. Guests called my name, offering congratulations. I waved, smiling, the lies stretching my face thin. Daniel waited in the hallway, his tie loosened, his expression grim. "The money's already gone from the main account," he said, showing me his phone screen. "Wire confirmations timestamped 13 minutes ago. But there's a window, if you file for annulment before the marriage is consummated." "We spent last night together," I interrupted, the memory souring my stomach. "Another performance." Daniel's face flickered with something I couldn't read. "Then we need different grounds. We need something that proves he can't claim marital assets, something that makes him the victim, not you." The implication hung between us like a blade. I understood what he was suggesting. Terrible, effective, final. "No," I whispered. "That's insane." "What's insane is letting him walk away with your father's life's work." Daniel stepped closer. "One mistake, one moment he can discover. You get an annulment, freeze everything, and we build the fraud case without him controlling the company." My rational mind screamed no. My terrified heart whispered yes. I thought of the embezzlement, the lies, the way Marcus had looked at me like I was a deed he'd acquired. And I thought of my father asleep in his hospital bed, trusting I'd protect what he'd built. "How?" I asked, hatting myself. Daniel's expression was pained. "We create a scene, something undeniable. Then you confess immediately, file first, beat him to the punch." I should have walked away, should have found another way. But panic and champagne made a dangerous cocktail. I nodded. The coat check closet smelled of cedar and desperation. Daniel kissed me first, but I kissed back. I told myself it was strategy, a necessary evil. But some dark, honest part of me knew it was also revenge, on Marcus, on the trap I'd walked into, on the woman in the mirror who'd chosen silence over courage. We were clumsy, frantic, fully clothed, but unmistakable. I heard the door handle turn and didn't stop. Marcus's shadow fell across us, and I made sure my hands were in Daniel's hair when the light hit my face. The silence that followed was worse than shouting. Marcus stared, his expression shifting from shock to something calculated. I expected rage, violence. Instead, he smiled. "Well," he said, his voice cold and clear, "I suppose I have everything I need." He walked away, not toward the ballroom but toward the exit. Daniel tried to follow, but I grabbed his arm. "Let him go. We have to file before he does." We rushed to his car, driving through the night to the courthouse. I filed for annulment on grounds of adultery at 11:47 p.m., still in my wedding dress, mascara tracking down my face. Daniel served as my witness. By morning, the temporary restraining order had frozen all marital assets, including the gift money. I thought I'd won. I was so naive. Marcus's countermove was devastating. He didn't fight the annulment. He embraced it. Held a press conference, yes, a press conference, with his polo shirt and crocodile tears. "I loved her," he told the cameras, "but I can't stay married to someone who would desecrate our vows hours after making them." He returned the gifts, he said, to protect the innocent guests from this mess. What he actually did was cash every check and deposit them into a new account. The wedding gift money alone was $63,000. The restraining order only covered assets held at the time of filing. The gifts technically were separate until deposited, a loophole my emergency filing hadn't closed. The business money he'd already moved was untouchable, routed through 3 shell companies and into the Caymans. The wedding gifts were his parting gift to himself, his compensation for emotional distress. My father learned about the annulment from the morning news, 3 hours before his surgery. His blood pressure spiked so high they had to postpone. When I finally got to the hospital, my mother blocked the door. "How could you?" she whispered, her voice broken. "On your wedding night?" I tried to explain about the embezzlement, the offshore accounts, the Pies report. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Marcus already told us everything," she said. "He said you make up stories to cover your guilt, that you've been unstable since the engagement. He showed us texts, your texts planning this with Daniel." The world tilted. He'd been in my phone, of course he had. How else would he know to move the money during the reception? "Mom, please don't, just don't." She closed the door in my face. The fallout was systematic and complete. My father, recovering from surgery, signed over power of attorney to my uncle. The company launched an internal audit, but Marcus had covered his tracks too well. All they could prove was that money had moved, not that he'd taken it. And with my affair as the narrative, I looked like the vindictive ex making false accusations. Daniel resigned from his law firm the day the story broke. Last I heard, he'd moved to Seattle, changed his number. He left one message: "You should have trusted me to find another way." My sister was the only one who halfway believed me. She snuck me a copy of the bank statements, but it was too little, too late. The statute of limitations on financial crimes is tricky. and Marcus had been careful. Without him present, without cooperation from the Caymans, the case went cold. I sold my engagement ring to pay the retainer for a civil attorney who told me what I already knew I'd played myself. By filing for annulment on adultery grounds, I'd validated Marcus's story. By creating the scene, I'd given him exactly what he needed to paint me as the villain. The gifts were legally his, the embezzlement unprovable, my reputation in ruins. 2 months ago, I got a Facebook message from a woman named Claire. I married Marcus last year. I think he stole from my father too. She sent photos of wire transfers identical to mine. A new shell company, new accounts, but the same signatures. She's put together a network of us, 3 women so far, who all had variations of the same story. Charm, embezzlement, escape. The difference? They all divorced him. Got proof, kept their families. I annulled him. Gave him the perfect exit. I'm telling this now because Claire's attorney thinks we have a RICO case. Multiple victims, pattern of behavior, wire fraud. They want my testimony, my records, my confession. And maybe, just maybe, I can do what I should have done from the start, stand in a courtroom and tell the truth, even if it means admitting I became a liar to catch one. So yes, I cheated at my wedding reception. I let my ex-boyfriend kiss me in a coat closet while my husband watched. I destroyed my own marriage on purpose, and I convinced myself it was heroic. The question isn't whether I'm a bad person. I know that answer. The question is whether being right about Marcus matters more than being wrong about everything else. You tell me.